Hi, I'm Tom Ingram and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jake Villeneuve, you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna, you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
You're listening to Race Day Live on Downforce UK, brought to you by Clapham North MOT, Motorsport Days Live, Stopwatch Hospitality and Trade Price Cars.
Warm welcome to you from Shenington Kart Racing Club. It is a gorgeous sunny day at the moment here as the qualifying session is underway for the 6th weekend in the 2018 Tuto Money Super 1 British Karting Championships. Jake Sanson here in the commentary box position, just up at the side of Cafe Corner. We've already had 2 on the qualifying session. Slight apologies for the delay in the broadcast of qualifying here in Super 1. Slight technical difficulties have meant that unfortunately the Junior TKM and TKM Extreme qualifying sessions have already been and gone, with pole positions for Nicholson in the Junior TKM and for Christian Riley in the TKM Extreme. But we'll bring you more up to date with that as we continue on through the late morning and early afternoon's qualifying sessions. We are into the TKM Extreme's second group of time qualifying at the moment. So Christian Riley leading the first group at the end of that run of time qualifying. But Messrs Pete Newman, the E-Plate, Sam Fowler, Harry Moore, Chris Whitten, Gavin Pitt, Theo Hesketh and Galore are out there at the moment, banging in lap times, trying to get themselves to the top of their group in the hope that they will, of course, resume their championship campaigns in the 4th weekend for these guys at TKM Extreme for their 2018 Tuto Money Super 1 British Karting Championship campaign. It's been a very busy start to the season thus far. For those of you only just joining us in the 2018 season, particularly in TKM Extreme, it is a wide open championship campaign still at this early stage of proceedings. It's been very exciting over the course of the first few weekends as we have the championship leader Adam Sparrow, who went out in the previous time qualifying group, still at the top of the table despite the fact that he's not actually been the top scorer in any one of the 3 weekends. He was 1 point off it in the second round of the championship at Rowra. Played pigeon when things got a little bit more interesting. But it's been very exciting to see how the championship has developed and unfolded, as several contenders are still very much in the mix for that championship title, and it's very early days in the championship season at this early stage, because we've got an awful lot of drivers trying to fight their way forward as the championship season continues. We've got an awful lot of great races to battle with in this weekend, and obviously the intensity of this championship campaign continues to increase as we go through the motions. But here at Super 1 this weekend at Shenington, the Monza of British karting, as I like to call it, it's going to be very exciting. Now, if you're following along at home on Tag Heuer Timing, you can obviously identify the difference between the previous qualifying group, Christian Riley's time of 44.88, and the drivers from this stage of qualifying. And you can notice that Sam Fowler, who is currently on pole position in this group, is also pole position overall, courtesy of his 44.79 second time. Pete Newman's popped up into second place in front of Chris Whitten. Rob Wellham is 4th in the group, but 5th overall. So definitely the later you go out, the faster you are over the course of this session. Of course, every time a class goes out on the circuit, they lay more rubber down on the road, and that is obviously going to give the drivers who go out later than their compatriots a little bit more of an advantage. Hence why at this point we're seeing 7 drivers from this group in the top 10, and only 3 from the previous group are still there. So obviously the balance being very tight as it is, more rubber on the road is giving us a little bit more speed. Also allied to the fact that not only have we got that advantage, but the gap between the top 10 drivers is really not that big in qualifying at all. Sam Fowler is currently fastest overall on a 44.79, and in 10th position overall is the leading privateer from this group, Josh Sheriff, who's done a 44.93. So that's only 14 hundredths of a second between the entirety of the top 10. So that is incredibly close as things currently stand. So the battle is very, very tight indeed in this qualifying group for TKM Extreme. We've had some absolutely sensational starts to the weekend already from several drivers, and we're just getting faster and faster. Now, this is much better for Harry Moore, actually, who is currently looking at 8th overall. He's had a very difficult start to his season as he battles for supremacy in the 2018 TKM Extreme class. and could really do with a bit more of a strong result over the course of one weekend. He's had good individual races, but obviously over the course of one weekend, he hasn't really been able to hit that sweet spot very consistently due to a bit of bad luck coming his way through the course of the season. So hopefully Harry Moore is going to be able to have a much stronger weekend in the Jade Racing kart. His teammate, by contrast, Joe Fowler, has been lightning. Certainly at the start of the season, he was absolutely dominant, if you recall, at Lark Hall in Scotland. But since then, he's really struggled to match that same sort of pace. So it's actually Sam Fowler who's picked up the pieces this weekend and is really starting to come through with some fast performances. So from qualifying again, it's very clear to see that the championship leader, Adam Sparrow, is not going to be in the top 10 overall for qualifying, which again is a rather interesting surprise. Certainly isn't a pleasant one if your name is Adam Sparrow, but that is unfortunately that's the bread and butter he's got to swallow at the moment, because that's how close it is in this TKM Extreme class in 2018. It is a very competitive category. The checkered flag has gone out on this second of two TKM Extreme qualifying sessions, and over the line it is going to be Sam Fowler, who remains on top with a 44.79 ahead of Pete Newman, just 0.02 of a second behind him. Chris Whitten is third overall on a 44.87, just 100th of a second quicker than Christian Briley, who in turn is 100th quicker than Rob Wellham, who in turn is quicker by 100th of a second to Cole and Reeve Smith, who are dead heated on 44.90. Harry Moore and Theo Hesketh, by the way, are dead heated on a 44.91. And then overall in 10th place is the privateer Josh Sheriff on a 44.93. That is 0.14 seconds, covering the entirety of the top 10. We always knew it was going to be close in TKM Extreme. We didn't know it was going to be that close. For those who weren't able to be with us for the junior TKM qualifying session earlier on, it is Nicholson and Pulling who were the fastest two drivers from that particular qualifying session. We'll go into more detail as we line up for the grid for that junior TKM race later this afternoon, of course. But we're getting ourselves ready here on the exit of the pits, because the Honda Cadets are going to be the next ones to head out on the circuit after what has already been a thrilling encounter in the Honda Cadet season, and there's only more to come.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingham and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jake Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
You're listening to Race Day Live on Downforce UK, brought to you by Clapham North MOT, Motorsport Days Live, Stopwatch Hospitality, and Trade Price Cars.
Now, the very busy nature of the grid entry for this particular class means that we're going to see two timed groups for the Honda Cadets here this weekend. There's so many drivers competing in Honda Cadet this weekend at Shenington that we're going to have to split them into two halves. So again, we'll get our time aggregates if you're watching along on the Tag Heuer live timing. If you are not and want to, then all you have to do is head to the website tagheuer-timing.co.uk and hit the link for Super 1, and you'll get a lap of the circuit. You'll get the best drivers in each sector. You'll also get display effects, comments, and of course you'll also get an aggregate overall positions from each session if there are two groups, so you'll be able to follow along the action as you watch at home. We are live here at the circuit at Shenington Kart Racing Club, and we're also live by Downforce UK. A massive thank you to the many people who have helped us to get here for this particular weekend. It's been a bit of a struggle for me with all sorts of illness and difficulties, but a massive thank you to everybody who has supported the live streaming this weekend, which is taking place on your mobile phones if you happen to hand on the application called Spreaker. It is free to download. You can listen to, or you've got friends, families, sponsors who want to be with the action. All you have to do is send them to the Downforce Facebook page, and they'll be able to get the news on there. There's lots of updates, of course, on the weekend. But a massive thank you to everybody who has helped out with this weekend's broadcast. There's a lot of credits to read tomorrow night when we wrap at the end of about 6 o'clock. It's been an absolutely fantastic journey this week to get to this point, and we're very proud to be able to bring you all of the action as it happens. Qualifying about to get underway then for Honda Cadet, and it has been an amazing season for Honda Cadet thus far this year. It's been quite a battle at the sharp end of the field. The current championship leader in
Ginchard, who has been an absolute thorn in the side on more than one occasion this year with some absolutely incredible racing. So he's one definitely to keep an eye on as the championship continues to develop. There is only 1 point between them at this early phase of the championship, and it is the number 8 Alfie Rigby who's gone out onto the circuit now to go and set his first laps in qualifying. But it's been a very difficult season, not just because of those two, but also the New Zealander Sebastian Bloch, the O-plate, who's been one of the most incredible overtakers this season, has had some amazing passing moves. It's never really quite had the same sort of luck as the two up front in the championship. He's had a difficult couple of weekends, but he's still third in the points and very much still in contention for the championship. He's got a little bit of ground to make up, but that shouldn't take him too long in the slightest. We've also seen some good performances this year from the leading privateer. Theo Makouris has been particularly strong, so I'm eager to see what he can do around this super fast Shenington circuit. Also, keep an eye on the new E-plate winner, who is actually the first Scotsman ever to claim and run the E-plate in Honda Cadet. That is Tristan Rennie, and he is actually sky high full of confidence this weekend. I have a feeling that Tristan Rennie is going to be right up at the front end. He's not out in this group though. He'll be out in the second time group, so do keep an eye on him. He'll be in the same group as the likes of Dan Ginchard and Neo Phipps and all those top talented drivers in that group that we'll talk about in just a short moment. At the current phase though, we are watching the drivers come through at the end of their first flying laps in the Honda Cadet session, and at the moment it is a very different order to what we expected at the sharp end. Oliver Stewart has hit the front right out of the blocks. Aidan Lynn in second place from Daryl Taylor and Jai Lawrence. Cruz Speakman has just been supplanted there by Jack Plant. Dan Parent-Smith has broken into the top 10 from Fraser Owen. Caleb McDuff, the very talented deaf racer, and Ethan Simmons in there as well. Now up to the top come the regular runners. Alfie Rigby's gone fastest, but now Sonny Smith has displaced him. So Sonny Smith has popped up just 0.06 of a second faster than Rigby. Then it is Sebastian Bloch from Ed Pearson, Ollie Greenall, Harley Horton, then Morris Henry, Mackay Singh, Oliver Stewart and Aidan Lynn in the top 10. Then after their first flying laps we have Daryl Taylor, Jai Lawrence, Jack Plant, Cruz Speakman, Dan Parent-Smith, Fraser Oram, Caleb McDuff, Ethan Simmons, and then we have Jack Hobson, Dan Holdsworth and Jack Clements. A really exciting battle in this 2018 season. Here they come again. And through to complete their second flying laps. A couple of drivers moving forward. Oliver Stewart's broken himself back into the top 6 with a faster lap. Jack Plant is now right up in position. Ethan Simmons breaks into the top 6, as does Jack Hobson on that flying lap. But faster times from the leaders. Sebastian Bloch now goes to the top on a 52.03, just 1/100th of a second quicker than Alfie Rigby. Really exciting battle in the early stages. Sonny Smith is there in third now, having displaced Oliver Greenall and Ed Pearson. Harley Horton in the HTR racing machine getting himself back into the top 6. Really good effort from these guys who are still pushing on in their early phases of their karting careers. Don't forget, a lot of the drivers out there have done this several times before. The Honda Cadets, a lot of them are rookies, don't forget, from Ethan Simmons, Jack Hobson, Mackay Singh, Jack Plant, Aidan Lynn, Dan Parent-Smith. All of them are doing this at national level for the first time. And in this group alone, there is only 1.79 seconds covering the entirety of the field. You've got to be on your A game around Shenington. It is, as I've christened many times before, the Monza of British karting. It is lightning fast, and you've got to be absolutely on the limit all the way round. Alfie Rigby goes back to the top in the Oliver Rowland Motorsport car and breaks the 52-second barrier in the process. A 51.98 in front of Bloch on a 51.99. And then on a 52.10 apiece is Oliver Greenall and Sonny Smith. They are dead heated with slight gains from Sonny Smith in the third sector, proving the difference between those two. Ed Pearson has gone purple in the first sector, so he may be about to go to the top of the table in this second flying lap. Daryl Taylor was fastest of all in the second sector, and that puts him into 10th position now. Ed Pearson is still on a flyer. He's gone fastest of all in the first sector, reasonably fast in the second, so he might be about to charge his way further up to the top 5. Jack Hobson and Ethan Simmons, the rookies, have just gone third and fourth. Rigby and Bloch have come through and are dead heated on a 51.85 each. And up to third comes Ed Pearson. I did think he'd be quick. A 51.95 for Pearson, so just 0.1 of a second behind the two drivers who have set a dead heat lap time. 51.85, Rigby and Bloch. And let's not forget, that we still haven't seen what Dan Ginchard's got up his sleeve. He's in the second group, about to come out onto the circuit, so it's going to be mighty interesting to see where he comes out with these guys out in front. There are 3 different drivers who have the 3 fastest sector times. Fastest in the first sector is Ed Pearson. Fastest in the second sector is actually the 52 now of Jack Plant. And fastest in the third sector is Sebastian Bloch. So interestingly, Alfie Rigby, who's showing as pole, is not the fastest of all in any of the splits. Jack Plant, fastest in the second sector overall, has now come up to 4th place. Dan Parron-Smith has gone up into the top 6 as well. Really impressive work from Dan Parron-Smith. He's now just been displaced and shunted out of the top 8. It's ridiculously close. It is 18 karts at the moment, covered by less than a second in this group alone, and we still have an entire second group to come as the final seconds tick down here at Shenington from this qualifying session. The checkered flag will be the next thing the drivers see. So the checkered flag comes out now, and the drivers are now getting their runs back into the pit lane. And they are led in by the 12, who comes through having had his final run. That's Darrell Taylor, and Cruz Speakman in the Project 1 racing car does likewise. No improvements from those guys towards the bitter end. Are there any major changes? Well, Dan Holdsworth breaks into the top 10 with a nice final lap there. And Sebastian Bloch has displaced Alfie Rigby with the final lap of qualifying by 100th of a second. Greenall and Pearson have gone faster than them both. Oliver Greenall, with his final qualifying lap, has gone into pole position. Oliver Greenall, the number 4, has done it. Absolutely brilliant final lap there from Greenall, who is the fastest of all in qualifying, and he knows it. Brilliant performance there from Greenall. Just 0.03 of a second quicker than Ed Pearson, who is second. Ed Pearson, a really impressive qualifying from the 41, who is second fastest. A brilliant final qualifying session then from those 2 in particular. Oliver Greenall and Ed Pearson will line up on the front row of the grid at the provisional way things stand. Then it's Sebastian Bloch and Alfie Rigby from Sonny Smith and Jack Plant. A good performance from the rookie there. Dan Holdsworth and Jack Clements, and then the other 2 rookies in the top 10, and the leading privateer as well, Dan Parron-Smith. Good work from him alongside Jack Hobson, another very impressive youngster in this session. Then it is Ethan Simmons and Harley Horton, Darrell Taylor and Mikai Singh, Aidan Lynn and Oliver Stewart. Morris Henry is next, and that's 17 karts covered by 0.86 of a second. Then we have Cruz Speakman, and then the 3 rookies, Jai Lawrence, Caleb McDuff, and Fraser Oram. That's 2 seconds covering the entire field in total, and a very close battle for pole position. The top 4 drivers separated by 0.07 of a second. But crucially, it's Oliver Greenall who will start the first race of the weekend later on this afternoon from pole position at the moment, because we've still got that second time group for the Honda Cadets about to come out. So, can the man who is 1 point back in the championship fight, Dan Ginchard, can he raise to the occasion and make himself the fastest man of the weekend thus far in the qualifying session? There's plenty of drivers, even in his group, who will want to take it from him. But now he's seen what his rivals and opponents can do. It's time for Ginchard to get that red mist down and go for the flying lap. He'll only have 6 minutes to do it, as do everybody, of course, in this session. But with so many Honda Cadets in the field this weekend, they've had to be separated into their 2-timed qualifying, and it's one of only 2 classes this weekend as well that will see a repechage, or a B final, if you will, and that will be the first race of tomorrow for Honda Cadet to whittle out those drivers who are not going to be able to make it to the A final. The other class, of course, is TKM Extreme, who usually have about 157,000 racers in their class every weekend. There's always so many of them. But now we're getting ourselves ready for that second group of timed qualifying in the Honda Cadet Brigade. And it's already been particularly ferocious in this class over the course of the weekend thus far. But timed qualifying 2 is about to get underway for Honda Cadet, just 10 minutes after the start of the first group. And this includes an amazing array of drivers. Just get this in this list of the second group. You've got the likes of Tristan Rennie, the newly crowned E-plate holder, the Scot, who is still the first driver to from Scotland, the first driver to claim and then hold the E-plate in Honda Cadet, as well as run it. So Theo Makuris, the leading privateer in the championship. Dan Ginchard off the lead by 1 point. And then you've got all sorts of talent in that particular group as well. The likes of Leon Henderson, who's been very strong this year for Strawberry Racing. You've got Kian Nakamura Berta, the Japanese driver, who's in the mix there as well. Ryan Willis, Sasha Wiley, Ollie Stevens, Lorenzo Cordell, Neo Phipps, all these top drivers. Mitchell Gibbons in the mix there as well as a few new faces as well. We've got the likes of Maximilian Solarski, who's only just been part of the championship the last couple of meetings. Sophie Kinghorn from Scotland is here for Project One Racing as well. Keep an eye, though, on Archie Walker. He's the leading rookie in the championship in 2018. So he is definitely going to be one to run at the sharp end of this particular field. So keep a steely eye on the 91. He will be a front runner by the end of this season regularly. And I can sense that a victory is not far away. Could he do something special in qualifying here this weekend? Let's find out. The first one on the track around the circuit is Maximilian Solarski, the Polish driver. So the field is currently running in unison as they try and get themselves set up. Tristan Rennie's already got himself into a good position for some drafting, as has Marcus Luzio on the back of Leon Henderson. So a couple of drivers are already getting the drafting very well, neatly sewn up as they battle away for position. Fastest of all in the first sector. What did I tell you? It's Archie Walker. He's already banging in the purple first sector. I did say here at Shenington he could be a strong force, and he's coming straight in. And may I point out that he's not only fastest in this session, I'm fairly sure that's fastest of all across the two time qualies, but we'll figure that out as they come across the line this time. Fastest in the second sector, by the way, is Theo Makuris as they come across the line. Fastest in the third sector is set to change, but Sophie Kinghorn initially goes faster than Solarski, and now Archie Walker goes top of them all until Makuris, Gibbons and Nakamura Berta come round. Tristan Rennie in fourth position as well. So the entire field has completed their first time lap, and it's Theo Makuris who sets the initial pace on a 51.87. Now, towards the latter stages of this time qualifying, we'll figure out where they are in relation to the other group of Honda cadets on the Tag Heuer live timing. That will come up shortly, I'm very sure, because we do tend to get that from time to time. Fastest in the first sector, Theo Makuris, still on a good flying lap. He's not improved on his second sector, though, but nobody's gone faster than his best in the second sector. So Makuris is definitely still the one to watch in this qualifying session at the moment. He is the fastest at present from Mitchell Gibbons, Kian Nakamura Berta and Tristan Rennie. Now they come across the line. Walker again goes fastest until Makuris and Gibbons come through. Walker remains in the top three, though. Rennie is in fourth, then it's Kian Nakamura Berta and Dan Ginchard in the top six. So with Ginchard in sixth, we now have Ryan Willis in seventh, from Marcus Luzio, Leon Henderson and Ollie Stevens in the top 10. Then it's Cordell, Phipps, Cresswell, Sofronio, Sasha Wiley, Sophie Kinghorn, Maximilian Solarski, Zico Hopkins Collis of Australia, and Cameron Crockett is in there as well in 19th. And the gap is only 2.08 from the front to the back at the moment. Let's not forget that there is a mass of rookies in this particular class of drivers who have already done a season in this particular group. There's only 7 of them, so it's very impressive to see this sort of talent that we've got. And the two drivers battling for top rookie honours in 2018, Archie Walker and Tristan Rennie, are in the top 4 in this qualifying group. Here they come again. Walker improves to a 51.82. Nakamura Berta improves to a 51.85. Makuris and Gibbons are still at the sharp end. This is a really good run from Mitchell Gibbons, in particular the 81, right up there in second place, 0.02 of a second off the leading privateer in the championship. Makuris is very strong here at Shenington, but Mitchell Gibbons, he's got a lot to be confident there in second place, doing a fantastic performance at this stage of the qualifying group. Walker is there in third. No major surprises there, considering his form he's been in all season. He has been a bit of a whirling dervish. Good to see Kian Nakamura Berta back in the hunt as well, the young Japanese star for Project One Racing. He's right in there as the leading driver from his team in this particular category, certainly in this particular group. Now we've got the combination from the previous session. Greenall, Pearson, Block and Rigby are still a whisker faster than Makuris, Gibbons and Walker at this point. But there is still a minute and a half to go. And they've only got to find 0.07 of a second to be on the same sort of pace, and they can find that in the draft. So there's still plenty of time for this qualifying session to pendulum swing across. So it's Makuris, Gibbons, Walker, Nakamura Berta, Rennie and Ginchard at this moment, and the top 6 are currently 5th to 10th in the overall standings for Honda Cadet if it stays like this. So they still need to make a little bit of progress to catch up with the likes of Greenall, Pearson, Block and Rigby, but with a whisker over a minute to do so, they have got time to do it. Fastest of all in the first sector is Mitchell Gibbons. Fastest of all in the second sector is now Dan Ginshard. Fastest of all in the third sector is Kian Nakamura Berta, so they are getting close to it. They come across the line this time by... And who is going to get the top spot? It is now Dan Ginshard and does a 51.72. That is a level time to Greenall. That is a dead heat time to Greenall. So if he can find just 1/100th of a second more, Ginshard will get the pole. This is tight. Walker's broken into second place now as well. That's good enough for third overall for Archie Walker. The leading rookie is looking likely to be starting on the inside line of the second row. Could Walker get his first win of the season from that third position spot? Well, Ginshard's got to find another 100th of a second to get pole off Greenall. Oliver Greenall on the sideline, crossing his fingers, his arms, his elbows, his hands, you name it, in the hope that he can hang on to pole position. But crucially, I think they're just going to run out of time before the checkered flag comes down. Checkered flag now, and the field is going to come through. Is there going to be a pole sitter that isn't Ollie Greenall? Yes, Archie Walker's done it. Archie Walker, a 51.69. Brilliant run from Archie Walker, topped by Makuris, then Gibbons and Tristan Rennie. So the top six is completely different. It is Theo Makuris who saves his best lap for last, and it is an absolutely astonishing 51.3. 51.3 for Theo Makuris. That is absolutely phenomenal. 0.3 of a second clear of everybody. Now Gibbons is second there on a 51.61. Well done to Mitchell Gibbons. Second place, a very good performance, and that's second place overall, not just in this group. Great performance from Gibbons. Third place is Tristan Rennie. Great performance there from the E-plate. So Tristan Rennie in third. Then in fourth position, it is Archie Walker. A great performance there from qualifying. Dan Ginshard is next in fifth from Kian Nakamura Berta. Then overall, it is going to be Greenall in seventh, Pearson in eighth, and Block in ninth. And then it will be Ryan Willis, who was seventh in this session, who is 10th overall. So behind Willis in this group, it is Lorenzo Cordell, then Ollie Stevens and Leon Henderson rounding out the top 10 of Time Quali 2, Marcus Luzio from Neo Phipps, Maximilian Solarski, Sasha Wiley, Alistair Cresswell, Sophie Kinghorn, Antonis Sofronio, Zico Hopkins-Collis, and Cameron Crockett. What an exciting session there. And from first to 10th, a 51.31 for Makuris compared to a 51.78 for Willis. That is only 0.47 covering the top 10. But 0.3 of a second for Makuris is a massive gap. I'd love to see that back again and see how well he found that 0.3 of a second from. But what an amazing run. Absolutely brilliant performance there. And it's going to be such an interesting race with Oliver Greenall, Pearson and Block just on the outskirts of the top 10 with the likes of Makuris, Gibbons, Rennie, Walker and Ginshard and Nakamura Berta, in fact, in that top six. Really exciting to see. And I can't wait to see how that one develops as the weekend continues. We move on next to Junior X30, which has been an absolutely amazing battle thus far. We'll talk a bit more about who's to play for it in a couple of minutes.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingham and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jake Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
You're listening to Race Day Live on Downforce UK, brought to you by Clapham North MOT, Motorsport Days Live, Stopwatch Hospitality, and Trade Price Cars.
I'm out of breath already. We haven't even started racing yet. Great stuff from the Honda Cadets there as we head into the action for time qualifying for the Junior X30s. If you're listening trackside, do send us a quick tweet at Jake Sanson. Send us your messages and I'll try and get them read out over the tannoy. If you're listening at home, wherever it is you are in the world, via the Spreaker application to the Downforce UK live stream feed of the race action, then do send us a message on the Spreaker chat box and let us know who you're rooting for and who you're supporting. We'll get that read out as well. Lots of opportunities to root for and cheer for the driver of your choice, and we'll give all of that big up to every one of the drivers that you want to talk about. And I tell you what, there's a lot of them to talk about in Junior X30 this weekend. My goodness me, it's been an exciting battle in Junior X30 in 2018. And I tell you what, the season is going to be a mano-a-mano dogfight at the moment, at least, between the two Chaos Sport teammates of Clayton Ravenscroft and Lewis Gilbert. Certainly that is the way the season has played out thus far. 19 points between those two. Clayton Ravenscroft is the champion at the moment after basically having a very tough season as things currently stood. But he has leapt to the challenge immensely, combining his Junior X30 campaign in Britain with a Senior X30 campaign in Europe. He's eligible to race in the seniors in Europe based on FIA rules, but here in Britain he's eligible of course for juniors, which is something enough big style. He's been able to make some amazing comeback drives. We've got to look back to Mark Hall, of course, to see how well he charges go forward. But speaking of Mark Hall, the man who's on fire that weekend is the home hero who's on Rye in Scotland. It is Gilbert, who is actually very much like his teammate Clayton Ravenscroft, leading his championship in Europe. It's very ironic we've got the two drivers in Junior X30 battling for the title. Gilbert is leading the European X30 series in juniors. Ravenscroft is in the seniors, and these two are now having to battle at the same time in Britain. But they're not the only ones in the battle. Dragon Vincent and Luke Whitehead have been incredibly strong in their early phases in Junior X30. The luck hasn't always been in terms of spin. You cannot rule them out of the championship fight. Any one of those two Chaos Sport drivers slips up this season, you can bet your bottom dollar that Vincent is going to be one of those who can pick up the pieces. And Luke Whitehead has been getting faster and faster with every single weekend. He's definitely on the comeback drive. And then of course you've got to look at the E-plate and the O-plate holders respectively. Alessandro Selenetti, Italian, and Plan. Both of those guys have been consistently mighty in the front row start. Straight race. Both of them are feisty, temperamental, incredibly exciting and energetic to watch, and they are drivers who can definitely make this championship go either way at the front end of the field, and they can get themselves into a podium-paying position, no problem at all. I'm sensing at this phase of the championship as well, there's going to be a couple of drivers who will try and get themselves back into contention with some very strong performances. Two drivers in particular who have had a couple of knocks over the course of the year, Lewis Thompson and Reggie Dewey. Both of those drivers still in the top 10 of the hunt of the championship standings, but they need a bit of luck to come their way. They've definitely got what it takes to win every single weekend in terms of pure pace, but they just need the luck to come more to them. It hasn't been that way thus far in 2018. Reggie Dewey in particular has had a great couple of opportunities to take race victories, most notably of course at Rowra when he drove an absolutely stonking race, and unfortunately a technicality robbed him of that victory. So I'm rather hoping that this is where his season is going to transform and turn around. He, just like Lewis Thompson, definitely deserves that break, so hopefully this is the weekend it's going to come. Of course, another driver in that fray who deserves another crack at the top spot is Josh Rattican, who's still having an amazing comeback after his injury, but again he's had so many frustrations over his 2018 season. Here at Shenington he should be very strong. He's got good history with this place, and he is one of those drivers who can definitely move his way further forward. A few other interesting names. I'm tipping for good stuff this weekend. There are some big names in this championship fight and in this particular class, of course. You've got to keep an eye on a few improving names like Oliver Gray, Caden McQueen, the leading privateer in the championship this year, Joseph Taylor, should be strong. There are a few drivers further back down the order as well who are making good progress. Tom Edgar's looking good at Fusion Motorsport. Alex Moody's making good progress in the Cato Motorsport Brigade as well. Every time he goes out, he seems to find a little bit more inner strength. So I can see him gaining more composure as this weekend develops. You've also got to look at the top rookie in the championship, Alex Lay. He's going to be a feisty one if he gets himself a good setup underneath him, and he's got good rhythm around here thus far. I watched him in the practice session earlier on, and he definitely seems to have good composure around this circuit. All it takes is to get himself into a good bit of the draft, and he'll be one to reckon with. There are so many drivers in this Junior X30 category in 2018 that have an amazing chance to move forward, and there are so many with the ability to win races, take podiums, and even potentially go for the championship. You've got to remember there are still many weekends left in this championship fight in Junior X30, and many races within those weekends to go. It's not done yet, and it certainly ain't over until the fat lady sings, and she isn't even warming up her vocal cords yet. So the battle is very much at the halfway stage, and that battle at the front end could get very heated. We know of old, of course, how well Clayton Ravenscroft and Lewis Gilbert have dealt with every opportunity that comes to them, but eventually they're going to have to cross swords with each other on the same bit of racetrack
to battle for the championship. And I'm going to be very interested to see how that goes. And there's plenty of drivers waiting in the rings. The likes of Dragon Pinsent, Luke Whitehead, Seninetti and Axel Laflamme, all of whom I thought were going to be battling away for that. But there's one driver who I thought going into this weekend wasn't going to be involved in the championship hunt at all for the rest of the season, and that is Alex Lloyd, who I was told during his European weekend they weren't going to focus anymore on the British Championship because of how disappointing their start to the season had been. Not the case, in fact, because Alex Lloyd decided very late, with a lot of persuasion for the Dan Holland Racing team, I'm told, no, come on, mate, you've got this. You can fight back. You can get on the top spot. And watching him at Wackersdorf, I'm definitely on their side with this. I think he can do it. Again, he's one of those drivers that just seems to get the raw end of the deal more often than not. And it's a real shame that he's not had the results to match his absolutely astonishing ability. But the way he fought back and got himself back up to the front end at Wackersdorf was very clear for all to see. He has what it takes. But there are so many drivers in this grid with the ability to run at the sharp end. You've only got to look at a few other names I haven't mentioned as well. The likes of Tyler Reed. He can be a very strong force in this championship fight. There's Shane White for Litchfield Motorsport. He's incredibly quick over one lap. And I wouldn't be surprised at all to see him in the top 6 from qualifying, Shane White. He's a bit of a dark horse in this championship. He can win races if you give him half a chance. Rufus Hunt goes very well around here. Since his mid-season switch from his previous team to Mick Barrett Racing, he's been getting a lot more confident with himself in the kart, and that's really important. If you feel good within your own team, you're going to have a much stronger weekend. His teammate, actually, Matthew Hudson, is another one to keep an eye on this weekend. And don't forget Teddy Pritchard-Williams. He's put in some very good performances in the early stages of 2018. So, as I keep saying, there's a good 20 or so drivers in this one field alone who can make the difference. And Alessandro Serenetti, of course, running as number 96. Well, I'm fairly sure he still has the E-plate. If not, then it's only just recently come away from him. But a really exciting and early battle. Interestingly, Caden McQueen, Nelson King and Alex Moody went out before anybody else. And they've been left to their own devices pretty much in the mix. Now the drivers are coming through to complete their first lap. And interestingly, the fastest of them is Reggie Dewey. So Reggie Dewey has gone straight to the top of the table from Clayton Ravenscroft and Alex Lloyd. Now out comes Nelson King. Nelson King's fastest lap in his very first lap. So Nelson King does a 43.59. Good work from Nelson. That was a very good opening gambit there. Reggie Dewey in second place from Caden McQueen and Clayton Ravenscroft. Then it's Alex Lloyd and Tom Edgar, the Northern Irishman, another very interesting new prospect to the championship. He's not a rookie, but he's definitely coming on leaps and bounds now in his 2018 campaign, getting faster all the time. Dewey goes back to the front. Then it's Rufus Hunt who comes up to second place. Good local knowledge of this circuit, of course. He races in the club championship, Rufus Hunt. Now here come the big players to get new laps in. Hudson's gone second from Lloyd. Now McQueen pops up to second, in behind Reggie Dewey, and ahead of Nelson King, who pops up now into third place. So it's Dewey, McQueen, King, Hudson, Lloyd, Gilbert, Reed, Radican, Whitehead and Hunt in the top 10. Where are the big players? Because there's quite a few of them who are not even in contention yet. Lewis Gilbert's in the top 6. White is 11th from Pinson at Serenetti. Edgar's 14th. Behrman is 15th. Ravenscroft is down in 16th, the championship leader. So they've definitely got to find something stronger. And there it is. As I mentioned him, he was obviously desperately trying to prove me wrong, but he's right up to the front again. So Ravenscroft's done a 43.04 from Reggie Dewey now in second. Third is McQueen from Nelson King, Lewis Gilbert and Alex Lloyd. Then it's Rufus Hunt, Whitehead, Reed, Hudson, Edgar, White. Jamie Mead has come up the order now to 13th from Serenetti, Behrman, Pinson, Radican, Meyer and Stevenson. Then it's Casper Scusa. Lewis Thompson is only 21st at the moment. He really needs to pick this up. Sam Heading and Teddy Pritchard-Williams struggling too. Alex Moody, Alex Lay, the leading rookie, in 25th at the moment from Oliver Gray. Then Sam Hawthorne, Douglas Bolger, Axel Laflamme really struggling in 29th at the moment. And then Will Ellswood. So there's a few more chopping and changing of positions as Ravenscroft seems to be running around the circuit there with Rufus Hunt. As he battles away for position, they're still trying to get up to speed. Tyler Reed now comes up to second place, the leading privateer in the championship at this moment in time, with Reggie Dewey definitely trying to hunt him down. No, my apologies. Reggie Dewey is now the leading privateer in the championship. He was running with one of the other teams in the championship early stages of the season, but now not so much. Clayton Ravenscroft, though, still at the sharp end on a 43.04. He beats his fastest split time in the first sector, so he's definitely gaining more speed. Fastest in the second sector, by the way, is Alex Lloyd. So once again, he is proving his mettle. He just needs to put it all together for a fast lap. Ravenscroft, Reed, Dewey, McQueen, King, Gilbert. Up to second comes Whitehead. Up to third comes Alex Lloyd. Very fast lap there from Lloyd to put him just 0.06 off pole position. But it's Ravenscroft, Whitehead, Lloyd, Reed, Dewey and McQueen in the top 6. Then it's Nelson King and Lewis Gilbert. The man from Dalry struggling at the moment in 8th position as into the pits. Who is that that's come into the pit lane? I think that is the number 10 that has come in. No, it's not. It's the O-plate. It's Axel Laflamme. So Axel Laflamme has had an absolutely nightmare qualifying session. He will start the first race of the weekend from the back of the grid. A good best time of only 44.25. Now that is a mechanical problem for the O-plate. Disaster for Axel Laflamme in qualifying, as now we've got the last 10 seconds of the session to go. Lewis Gilbert's now come up into the top 5 again. He's in third place. They're all on their final flying lap. So this is the checkered flag about to appear on circuit. In fact, it does so now. And the first driver to receive it is going to be coming across the line very shortly indeed. As Axel Laflamme is pitted in, the checkered flag now flies across the finish line as the drivers come through, all in formation. The first one to see it is Lewis Thompson. Ravenscroft completes, still in first position. Can anybody displace him? Caden McQueen's gone fastest of all in the second sector. He might be able to snatch pole position here if he gets a good lap in. We'll watch him as he comes across the line. It's enough for 5th place. So Ravenscroft is fastest of all in that session. Second place for Luke Whitehead. Third for Lewis Gilbert. Alex Lloyd is in a very strong 4th place there from Caden McQueen and Tyler Reed. Reggie Dewey 7th from Casper Stevenson. Nelson King, and back in the top 10 again is Josh Rattican. Then it's Dragon Pinsent, struggling there in 11th actually from Oliver Gray. Big gains made there. Will Ellswood is the top privateer. Managed to get some very fast laps in towards the end there. Good work from Ellswood to be 13th. Then it is Oliver Behrman in front of Matthew Hudson. Jamie Mead is 16th from Lewis Thompson in 17th. Sam Hawthorne is 18th. Tom Edgar, bit of a difficult one in 19th place. And then Max Meir is 20th position in front of Rufus Hunt, Sam Heading, Alex Lay, Shane White, Alessandro Senonetti really struggling that time out. Teddy Pritchard-Williams from Douglas Bolger, Casper Scusa, Alex Moody, and of course the man who really didn't get a decent qualifying lap in at all due to mechanical problems, Axel Laflamme, who will start right at the back. Expect fireworks from him as he fights his way forward. But Ravenscroft is top dog again in qualifying here at Shenington with all his main opposition, Whitehead, Gilbert, Lloyd, right in there behind him. This is going to be one heck of a show here at Shenington for the first race later this afternoon. Speaking of X30, we've got more action from them coming up in just a moment, because the mini X30 Brigade is the next one about to head out onto the circuit. And although they're not an official championship, they are all still battling for the TDI Media Cup at the end of the season. And in this championship, at this stage of the season, it is a dead heat between Ivan Lomliev and Joshua Rowledge. This is going to be a sensational squabble.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingham and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jake Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
You're listening to Race Day Live on Downforce UK, brought to you by Clapham North MOT, Motorsport Days Live, Stopwatch Hospitality, and Trade Price Cars. Just when you thought things were exciting in Junior X30, we get the Mini X30 Brigade, which has chopped and changed all the way through this season. From weekend to weekend, there seems to be a different driver towards the sharp end of the field, and it just continues to change progressively as the season develops. There has not been one dominant one-man streak over the course of the season. It's been every single round chopping and changing as the season goes on, and therefore my money is still 4 drivers in particular who could win this year's championship if things go their way. Obviously we still have that dead heat with Josh Rowledge and Ivan Lomley for a title for the lead of the championship at this point. There is nothing to choose between them go his way. A top 4 position is not enough for Aaron. He really wants to win, and he can sense that it's close, and so can I. So expect him to be on the podium this weekend. However, there are 2 drivers over at Fusion Motorsport who are going to stop that happen, one of which has already taken a victory this year. In fact, took the first final victory of the season, and that is Jessica Edgar, who won back at PF International. She's having a very good season too. She's had some difficulties, but 5th in the standings is a very admirable position considering how tough it's been for her up until this point. Her teammate Josh McLean has been giving her quite a run for her money over the weekends. McLean has definitely looked like a race winner from time to time, but again has had even worse luck than some of his rivals. So 6th position in the points is where he currently stands, but he's definitely got a lot to gain from this weekend. That 3rd driver in the equation for Fusion Motorsport this weekend is actually the Mexican driver Ian Aguilera, who is stepping up from his cadet phase, which is now over, and is now stepping into Mini X30 with the Fusion Motorsport team. And I have to say, early signs are that Aguilera is taking to this class very quickly indeed, so I don't think it's going to be too long before you see him knocking on the door of a podium, and that's definitely going to be concerning, not just for his teammates, but certainly for the rest of the drivers in the fray. Picking a winner, though, in Mini X30 every weekend is a bit like trying to pull the yellow Smarty out of the tube first go. You genuinely don't know who's going to get there first, and it's very tough to predict because it is incredibly tough. These guys are so evenly matched. It's probably the most evenly matched class out there. It's certainly not the most populated, and it is the smallest grid we have in Super 1 in 2018, largely, of course, because it's the first season they've operated in this particular class, so you have to take that into consideration. What also has to be given proper credence, though, of course, is the fact that, you know, these guys are obviously still getting used to these karts. This is a new category in 2018 in Super 1, so they're getting up to speed pretty quickly, and it would not surprise me in the slightest if this became a full standard championship in the 2019 season. For the time being, though, of course, it is racing for the TDI Media Cup, so that these guys still have trophies to be handed out at the awards dinner, which is on the same weekend, traditionally, as always, the Autosport International show. They will have a prize giving during the day on the Autosport show during the Saturday of that weekend, which is usually the 2nd or 3rd weekend in January, and then, of course, the full formal awards are that evening on the Saturday night. So the battle is obviously going to be very joined between these guys, as they all want to battle for supremacy. And even though it's not an official championship in the eyes of Super 1 yet, as a guest invitational class, the drivers do not care. They are taking it as seriously as if it is their main national campaign, and particularly for the likes of Ivan Lomliev, Josh Rowledge and Rashan Chigarimbo, this is dead serious. They want to leave the 2018 season at the end of PF International in September as the top dog in Mini X30, because from here you can take this on to Europe, you can take this on to another major championship in 2019. They can head into Junior X30 off the back of knowing they've had a good season in Mini X30. There are plenty of reasons to be at the front end of this class, so it'll be exciting to see how they go for this particular category. We're going to go out onto the grid for qualifying very shortly indeed, within the next couple of seconds or so. In fact, the gate goes up, green flag flies, and the Mini X30s will be released onto the circuit. Now, who's going to go for it first? The drivers will obviously head out. It's the slowest start to a qualifying session of the entire day so far. The green flag has flown and nobody has left the pits as yet. So it's very nearly like those psychological mind games that we get from senior categories when they wait around and say, no, I don't want to use up my tyres, thanks very much. So it's a very early... it's a very similar sort of start for Mini X30. It's a 6-minute session, and 1/12 of it has already gone by. 30 seconds have gone, and nobody has left the pits. But they've been staring at the exit of the pits for 30 seconds, and nobody has left it yet. This is a very unusual state of affairs for a junior championship. So we're still waiting for the first one to head out onto the circuit. They've all shared the podium over the course of the season. Ivan Lomliev and Josh Rowledge picking up the majority of the victories over the course of the season, as we're aware. Rashan Chigarimbo definitely starting to pick up the pieces. Aaron Walker looking very competitive this weekend. Certainly in yesterday's testing, he found some good speed and good form. He was telling me earlier that he's definitely looking quite confident for the season ahead. And still, no Mini X30 deciding, do you know what, it's the first minute of qualifying, I'm going to go out. No, they're not, actually. So 1/6 of the session has already gone by, and nobody's going out. Are they just going to draw this grid by lots? Not entirely sure. But Mini X30
MX-30 definitely deciding, do you know what? I like my tyres tyre-shaped. I'm not going to put anything in them as it happens. I'm not going to do any mileage that I don't have to do. It would not surprise me, you know, if these guys were to sit here until 3.5 minutes to go. They don't want to use up any tyres. They don't have to in Mini X30. They're trying very hard indeed to limit how much they go out onto the circuit. As far as these guys are concerned, they only need 2 or 3 fast laps to do what they can with only 6 or 7 opponents. So it's not surprising to see the time tick down. 1/3 of the session has now gone by without a single driver from the Mini X30s heading out onto the circuit. Do they know what a green flag looks like? Ah, now they do. Here we go. And it's Rashan Chigarimbo who finally says, oh, I can't wait any longer. I know what the throttle looks like. I'm going out. So he blinks first, the man who is 3rd in the standings at the moment. So Rashan Chigarimbo heads out first. We'll be waiting, of course, for the likes of Rowledge for Strawberry Racing. Aaron Walker, the Kato Motorsport star. Now they're all heading out onto the circuit. The 3 Fusion carts go out together. Lomliev in pursuit. Aaron Walker follows in. And there goes Josh Rowledge. What a funny old bunch racing drivers are. They're a lot like journalists, you know. They tend to stick together in case they miss something. Oh, God bless them. They do things very differently to everyone else, the Mini X30s. But Rashan Chigarimbo has gone out on his own. Now, that is potentially a tactical mistake because obviously the other 6 drivers are going to run around in tandem. And obviously here at Shenington, they're going to get the speed draw and the draft from the other drivers around the circuit. So that's where potentially he could be vulnerable. So the drivers head out around the circuit and are now starting to pound laps in. Now, for some reason, Ivan Lomliev is still showing up as in the pits, although he's definitely out there and he's definitely setting lap times. So I'm not entirely sure what's happened there, but for some reason, Ivan Lomliev's not coming up on the timing screen. I'm sure that's going to be rectified, though, because he is out there and still putting in some very fast lap times, sector times, I'm sure. Rashan Chigarimbo's flying lap, his first one, is a 45.70. Now, does he have enough confidence in himself that he can actually run around the circuit faster than everybody who's going to have each other's slipstream, or will he back in and join the rest of the queue? Because I'm not sure he's going to get that same sort of space. That same sort of straight line speed down the straight unless he's got a draft. And to prove the point, Rowledge has gone quicker, Walker's gone quicker, and Edgar's gone quicker. Aguilera and Josh McLean have gone through. Now, I don't know what sort of time Lomliev has put in because, again, he's not showing up on the timing screens. Either he's got a transponder failure or he's forgotten to put it on or something. But for some reason, Ivan Lomliev is not showing up on the timing screens. Now, Chigarimbo goes fastest again on a 45.22, but has he got what it takes to stay in front of these guys with 1 minute and 24 seconds left when they are using each other's slipstream and draft to gain advantages on those long straights? It's touch and go, really. Chigarimbo might have the straight line speed on his own to run at the front. Aguilera goes fastest of all, the Mexican, then Rowledge, then McLean. So McLean's gone to the top. Rowledge in second, Aguilera is third, Walker is fourth. From Chigarimbo and Edgar. Lomliev, I haven't got a clue because I don't know what his times are at the moment. So I have a feeling we'll only find out how fast Lomliev has actually been going when we come to look at the grid a little bit later on. Either that or he's going to have to suffer the ignominy of starting the race from the back of the grid. But in this class, that's only 7th position this weekend. Rashan Chigarimbo comes through again and does a 44.95. But he's still only good enough for 5th position. I wonder if going out on his own was just a tactical error because he's currently 0.37 of a second off the pace of those around him. As Walker goes quicker, Aguilera goes quicker, Edgar goes quicker. So Chigarimbo down to 6th. McLean is your fastest. From Rowledge, Walker, Aguilera, Edgar, Chigarimbo and Lomliev. Although we have no idea what sort of pace Lomliev is actually setting because he's not coming up on the timing screen. So provisionally at the moment, it looks as though it's going to be Josh McLean from Josh Rowledge on the front row of the starting grid. Chigarimbo comes through and crucially, he is going to get one more flying lap than the other drivers out there. So that could be the difference. He's got to up the speed. So Chigarimbo has got one final flying lap. Now that could be the key to put him back at the front end. The checkered flag comes out on the start-finish straight, and the Fusion carts will come across the line in unison, and the fastest of them is going to be Josh McLean. He goes fastest of all from Josh Rowledge. Then it's Aaron Walker in third from Ian Aguilera and Jessica Edgar, with Rashan Chigarimbo Lomliev has come into the pits, but we haven't got a clue what he's done in terms of his times, unfortunately. But Chigarimbo is out there at the moment, setting his final flying lap. He's been faster than he's gone in the first and second splits. He set his fastest time, but it's only 0.66 away from pole. So, again, unfortunately, Chigarimbo trying to go it alone, and it doesn't seem to have worked for him, unfortunately, on this occasion, which is a shame because we all know that Rashan Chigarimbo is a race-winning driver and certainly made the most points from the last weekend at Raura. Was absolutely incredible. He made more points that weekend than any other driver in the championship, so he's catching those two leaders up front. But tactically, it's a disappointing one for Chigarimbo because he has the speed to be on pole position. But let's look at the positives. He's only on the third row of the starting grid, so there's a lot of opportunity for him to come back. And they're learning as they do in this class. But we still don't really know where Lomliev is. Now, if he hasn't transponded for the entire session, is it likely that he's going to have to start the first race from the back of the grid anyway? I'm not entirely sure what the rulebook says on that one, unless there is a manual lap scorer who has been taking his times but the old-fashioned way by sticking a stopwatch out at the side of the road. I'm not entirely sure how that works, as I'm not an official, unfortunately, so we'll have to figure out what the ruling is on that one, whether he'll have to start from the back or whether there is a lap time that they can take. But at the moment, at least, it's McLean from Rowledge, Walker, Aguilera, Edgar, and Rashan Chigarimbo in front of Ivan Lomliev, although that may change. So we'll come back to that one when we get an opportunity to. And hopefully there is not going to be quite as long a pause this time for the next category that will come out onto the circuit. In a little under 7 minutes' time, we will have the IARMY cadets, and there is so much to talk about with this particular class that we should fill the 6-minute gap between this end of the session in Mini X30 and the start of IARMY cadet fairly easily.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingram and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jake Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
You're listening to Race Day Live on Downforce UK, brought to you by Clapham North MOT, Motorsport Days Live, Stopwatch Hospitality, and Trade Price Cars.
Thank you again to everybody who is supporting and listening around the circuit here at the Shenington Kart Racing Club. Jake Sanson here, broadcasting live across Downforce UK and around the circuit PA here at the Shenington Kart Racing Club. A massive thank you to everybody who supported us being here for this one. And those of you who are obviously wanting to listen along to the coverage as it happens and are not quite close enough to a speaker for the entirety of the day, you can download the free application Spreaker and have it on their mobile phones, and you can listen to the action in your awnings as the day goes on to see how all the other classes are faring. Probably good for the bigger teams who have karts in several classes over the course of the weekend. So we moved from the Mini X30 to IARMY Cadet, which is without a shadow of a doubt one of the most incredible battles in the Super 1 paddock in 2018. And there is a four-way, for my money, title fight. Some would say three, but I still say it's a four-way scrap because dropped scores are still to be taken into account at the end of the season. So here's the story so far. The two Oliver Roden Motorsport drivers, Arvid Lindblad and Max Dodds, have been working in tandem since the second round of the championship at Lark Hall to move their way forward up the standings. And they're doing an absolutely cracking job of doing so. Sorry, the second round of the championship was at Wilton Hill. My apologies. So good to see the battle between Arvid Lindblad and Max Dodds. They are only separated at the top of the table by 4 points. But the Fusion pair are still in the mix for my money because Will McIntyre is only 11 points off the lead. And as the season progresses, he has been getting stronger. And although a lot of people have already said, well, it's game over for Freddie Slater, I don't believe that because there's still drop scores to be taken into account. He's incredibly strong. His fight back at Rauma when he was dealt the worst hand of cards imaginable for a championship contender was incredibly spectacular. This kid's not done yet in 2018 for my money. I have a feeling that the next couple of weekends, if he gets the right setup behind him, which is almost a dead cert with his team of mechanics, you can
can bet he is going to be in the top 3, pretty much guaranteed in every session. And if Freddie Slater's at the front end, if he gets a whiff of the lead, none of those drivers in that grid will see which way he went. He is that kind of racing driver. So Freddie Slater is not out of this championship fight by any stretch of the imagination. And do not rank him out, because he has what it takes to win this. Drop scores could become a very scary prospect for the 3 drivers at the top end of the list when they get to PM. If Freddie is still winning races and taking podiums, not only will take them off the opponents, but he'll be taking names by the end of the year as well. So that kid is definitely still in contention. You've also got to think about the 3rd driver in each of those 2 squads at Oliver Rowland Motorsport and Fusion, because at Fusion you've got Aidan Neate, who is top 5 at the moment, and Aidan has been getting stronger and stronger and stronger as the season develops. He is a very quick little kid now, and I have a feeling that that first podium finish on pure merit is not far away. Similarly, for the 3rd man in at Oliver Rowland Motorsport, that man is Brandon Carr, who is also the leading rookie in 2018 as well. So he's definitely one to keep an eye on. There's been some pretty impressive performances behind them as well. Let's not forget that behind those 2 top teams, the next man in the championship in 7th place is Luke Watts. And I have to say, you've got to give this guy a massive amount of credit. Pound for pound, he's probably the most impressive of the drivers in the top 10 at this moment, because he's going it alone in his own team operation. Also, he is actually quite a considerable amount taller than a lot of the other drivers in the championship in front of him. So he's currently battling with the fact that he's taller than a lot of his opposition and should really, in terms of height, be better suited to the likes of Mini X30 or Junior X30 or even Minimax, actually. But he's still too young to make that step up. So he's just got to cope with what he's got. And what he's done is actually fairly impressive, considering that more often than not, he's trying to take scraps and spoils off the drivers at ORM and Fusion. So fair play to Luke Watts. I'm really exceptionally impressed with what he's done thus far in 2018. And I think there's only more to come. But there's been a great performance as well from a lot of the privateers this year, as well as the rookies. Ashton Hodgson is one that I'm very, very impressed with in the early stages of the season. He's been in the top 10 several times, and it's good to see him gaining good points whenever he's got an opportunity to. Another privateer who's definitely worth a watch in my book is the young lady who's in the top 20 in the championship standings. In her first season of competition in Super 1, Ella Stevens has done a fantastic job in her first 4 weekends of the season, and just keeps getting better. Their frustration is that they feel that Ella could be a lot faster than she is, so they are still absolutely determined. I reckon she could crack the top 10 before the end of this season. There is definitely a good chance to see her even towards the podium by season's end. She knows the Shenington circuit well. She's won here in other categories, so there is definitely a strong argument that Ella Stevens could be particularly strong here this weekend alone. However, in the other championships, there is definitely, in the other contenders, I should say, there's an awful lot of talent in Ayami Cadet. It's not as big a grid as in the Honda Cadet Brigade, but I tell you what, Ayami Cadet has got some incredible talent. You've only got to look through the rest of the field. The likes of Sam Shaw, who is still in the top 10, don't forget, and is one of the contenders for the Esports Super 1 Championship, which runs on the Wednesday night before most of the championship rounds in Super 1. So Sam Shaw is in the top 10 of the main championship, as well as being a title contender in the British Esports Super 1 Championship. But there's a lot of great drivers in that mix as well. You've only got to look at the likes of Harley Horton. You've got Alfie Baxter-Davies in the mix there. Leo Robinson. Archie Clark is another one of the rookies doing a fantastic job in at Fusion Motorsport. MJ Canini's been really strong when the cart's underneath him, and his comeback after his shunt at Wilton Mill has been truly sensational. Harley Keeble is another top driver at ORM. You've got to keep an eye on him, because he's another driver who, give him an inch and he'll take a mile. He's absolutely brilliant at getting himself into a good position. Then, of course, there's Ollie Wright, who is known to his friends as Pineapple at Fusion Motorsport. He's been gaining confidence every weekend, and it's good to see him moving his way up the field. But there's one man in particular that I would love you all to keep a quick eye on, and that man is the number 98. He's here from America, the Mad Croc Racing team, Sebastian Weldon. And a lot of people in karting will know that name because he is the son of the late, great Dan Weldon. And I watched him in practice this morning, and you know what? I think the Lionheart may have a second coming. He's definitely looking very strong in the early stages of his Super 1 Series career.
Gabriel Stilp, his teammate, is looking pretty strong this weekend as well. There's a few other talents to keep an eye on. You've got the likes of Edu Robinson, Harry Jr. Burgoyne, Vinnie Phillips and Maximus Hall, the Gladiator, are always going to be hard chargers in this class. And Hadi Mamassi, the Canadian, has been getting stronger and stronger, as has the Irishman, Fionn McLaughlin, in the Strawberry Racing team. So there's a lot of talent in this particular squad. I don't think there's a single driver on this grid that can't crack the top 6. So this is a particularly competitive field in iArmy Cadet in 2018, and they're just going to get stronger and stronger as the season develops. So here they come at the end of their first flying lap. Straight up to the top come the first two across the line, Hadi Mamassi and Luke Sintler. But now the rest of the field is starting to come through. Fionn McLaughlin gets the fastest lap initially. Luke Watts has popped in at 4th place from... also in the top 10, we've got McLaughlin, Mamassi, Sintler, Watts, Robinson, Harrison, Canini and Stevens at the first part. But a lot of drivers are still getting into their rhythm, so their second and third flying laps are going to be much faster than their first. This is going to be a qualifying session that will chop and change several times along the dial over the course of these next 3 minutes and 42 seconds, because we've got so many drivers in the mix that they're all going to be furiously battling for that top spot. And I have a feeling that the gap between them all is going to be rather large at the rather small, sorry. At the moment it's large. It's 8.52 seconds as Hadi Mamassi gets a 52.38 out of his kart that time by. And now the laps are starting to come in as drivers are putting on a bit of a spurt of speed. Up to the top goes Ashton Hodgson on a 51.96. I can sense low 51s being the pole position time. Up goes Will McIntyre on a 51.78. So 51.78 there from McIntyre is the fastest at the moment. From Alfie Baxter Davies in second place. Then it's Ashton Hodgson in front of Maximus Hall, the Gladiator. So really good start to proceedings then. Sam Shaw is 5th from Luke Watts. Max Dodds is 7th. Freddie Slater is 8th. Leo Robertson is 9th. And Arvid Lindblad, the championship leader, is currently 10th. But there's a long way to go in qualifying. 2 minutes and 40 seconds around a lap that gives us a 51.5 second lap for pole position. Here they come. And over the line. Improvements for Mamassi and Sintler, but they remain in the top 20. Across the line will come some of the big players this time by, and we'll get some faster lap times in as the slipstream starts to take effect. Ella Stevens pops up into the top 10, the privateer, doing a fantastic job in the 28. Up to the top goes Phillips, then McIntyre. McIntyre, then Lindblad finally pops up. Arvid Lindblad gets himself up into proceedings again. So Arvid Lindblad has done a 51.68. I can sense a 51.5 could be the pole time. But Arvid Lindblad, 51.68, is just 0.02 of a second quicker than Will McIntyre. Then it's Vinnie Phillips, a good run from him thus far. Sam Shaw, Brandon Carr, Alfie Baxter Davies, Maximus Hall, Leo Robinson, Ashton Hodgson and Aidan Neat is the top 10. Then it's Max Dodds down in 11th at the moment from Luke Watts, Freddie Slater in 13th and Ellis Stevens in a very strong 14th. Here they come again. Still a good battle to come from these guys as they battle away. Mamassi and Sintler are the two teammates working together as they start to bring each other further forward. The lap times come through. Aidan Neat goes fastest, then McIntyre improves. Lindblad does not quite get pole position this time. It's a 51.38 for McIntyre, a 51.40 for Lindblad, and Maximus Hall goes third. 1 minute 12 on the clock. So it's McIntyre from Lindblad, Hall, Carr, Neat, Phillips, Sam Shaw, Max Dodds, Harley Keeble and Alfred Baxter Davies. So a good battle thus far. Then it's Robinson, Hodgson, Slater, Watts, Stevens, Horton, Harrison, Archie Clark, MJ Canini and Fionn McLaughlin. Sintler and Mamassi are close together in the Evolved Motorsport karts. Then it is, Mamassi goes up to 20th now. Then it's Rippin, Wright, Burgoyne, Robinson, Barrow, Weldon and Stilt, the Madcock guys who are still learning by doing, don't forget. So the battle developing as Archie Clark breaks himself back into the top 20 with a 15th place time. McIntyre still first. Up to 4th goes Shaw. Up to 5th goes Brandon Carr. Up to 6th comes Dodds. And up to 7th comes Freddie Slater. Now it's game on for pole position. This, I think, is going to be the final flying lap. The only two drivers who look to me like they're going to get another time lap in are the Evolved Motorsport karts of Hadi Mamassi and Luke Sintler. I don't think anybody else is going to get a second flying lap in at the tail end of this session. The Evolved karts should just cross the finish line in time to get one more lap in, although they might not make it. Across the line. Oh, they are going to get the checkered flag, so they won't get one more time lap in. So Mamassi and Sintler finish off just outside the top 20, but very close together, 200ths apart. So who's going to get pole? Will McIntyre remain in first position? Will it be Lindblad that displaces him? Max Hall is close in third from Shaw, Carr, Dodd, Slater, Neat. The field comes across the line. Will there be any changes? Lindblad goes to the top on a 51.32. McIntyre second from Sam Shaw. A great lap from the Strawberry Racing driver puts him in third position. A great run from Sam Shaw. Really impressive run there. So Sam Shaw has shot himself forward into third position at the very death of the session there. Good work. And a really impressive performance there from Shaw. Fourth position is Maximus Hall from Freddie Slater and Max Dodds. That's going to be an interesting third row. Brandon Carr in seventh. Aidan Neat is eighth from Vinnie Phillips and Harley Keeble. Then it is Alfie Baxter Davies and Leo Robinson from Archie Clark. Great work from him in 13th. Luke Watts and Ashton Hodgson. Another great run there from the privateer. Harley Horton, Charlie Rippin, and then Oliver Wright, Ella Stevens and Fionn McLaughlin are in the top 20. From Bart Harrison and MJ Canini, Hattie Mamassi and Luke Sintler working in tandem. Then it's Edu Robinson, Gabriel Stilp, Harry Jr. Burgoyne struggling, and then it's Sebastian Weldon in front of Max Barrow. 1.44 seconds covers the entire field. But what a battle it's going to be with the championship leader Arvid Lindblad on the front row alongside his main title opposition, Will McIntyre. That is going to be one heck of a charge. But with Sam Shaw there in third position in the times from that inside line of the front row, who knows? Sam Shaw could well be the dark horse to get the top spot in the first race of the weekend. He's right there in contention and looking very strong indeed. So what an exciting battle in Army Cadet qualifying, and there is just one more qualifying session to go before we take our lunch break breather, and that is from Senior X30. If you thought Army Cadet was exciting, well, we need to refresh your memories at just how brutal the battle in Senior X30 is likely to be.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingham and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jake Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
You're listening to Race Day Live on Downforce UK, brought to you by Clapham North MOT, Motorsport Days Live, Stopwatch Hospitality, and Trade Price Cars.
Senior X30 has been a sensational squabble in the early stages of 2018, with several drivers emerging as championship contenders. Joe Turney, Morgan Porter and Oliver Hodgson definitely leading the charge, but the new Oakland holder Thomas Turner is very much in the mix here as well. So for my money, there's four drivers straight out of the block who can walk away with the top spot here this weekend in Senior X30, but there's a lot more drivers in contention as far as I'm concerned as well. You've only got to look at the drivers there with them in the top six. Brad Pennell and Lewis Payne, both of them had some killer overtaking moves throughout this 2018 season and have always been right there in the search for greatness at the top end of the field. So I can expect both of those two to put in another great performance. Sadly, one of the top names from the top 10 is unlikely to be making another appearance, at least until the last stages of the season, and that is Elliot Harvey, who rather unfortunately a couple of weeks ago suffered a rather disappointing injury, which has basically put him out of action for at least the next 3 months, I'm told, which is an absolute disaster. It means that he might not be able to make it out for the remainder of the season, with obviously 2.5 months to go before the last round of the championship and the international. So we may have seen all we're going to see in the half of 2018. But if you wish, Elliot, I do hope you get better soon. I hope that all is well in the recovery stages. We miss you, and hopefully you'll be back to your best and fight for the title in 2019. Get better soon, mate. Then we have a couple of the other drivers just behind them who are obviously looking to pick up the pieces. Sean Butcher, the Australian, is having a great season in Britain and a reasonably good one in Europe as well. Great to see that he is still very much a contender in Senior X30 no matter where he races. And it's not going to be too long before he starts regularly getting that top spot. Very, very composed all the way through the season. The leading privateer, Owen Byatt, fiery and feisty as ever, is always going to be one to challenge for that top spot. But again, luck has not really been on his side in early phase of 2018. So he could really do with a bit of a break in that regard. He needs a little bit more fire in his belly from a strong result. So we'll see how that works out over the course of this qualifying session. This could really be the difference between a great weekend and another frustrating one. There are a couple of drivers who have really started their season with a little bit more motivation from a strong result, not just in qualifying but over the face of the weekend as well. The likes of Mike and Derek Morgan. We know these guys are capable of winning. We know these guys are title contenders on paper, but so far in 2018, their seasons have been dogged by unfortunate circumstances. They've never really been able to capitalize on the speed and ability we know they have. Hopefully this is the weekend that changes and they will be able to bring themselves further forward. One of the things I've loved watching about Senior X30 this year as well, actually, is the rookie battle, because the rookie battle only has about 3 or 4 drivers in it each weekend, but each of them have had a turn running towards the sharp end of that little tussle. And it's been great watching Scott Jackson versus Henry Laws versus Sky Siddle, the 3 regular rookies who have all had a turn to run near the front at their particular parts of the season, and each of them have had really strong positive weekends. It's not quite as close, I think, as the 3 of them want it to be with each other at the moment, but over the course of the season, I have a feeling that's going to change. So these 3 drivers, Scott Jackson in particular has been a very strong rookie, getting himself towards the sharp end on more than one occasion. Henry Laws has had more bad luck in one start to a season than I think I've ever seen from a KR Sport driver. And hopefully there's going to be no more of that for the remainder of the season, because to be perfectly honest, if you broke his kart in half, it would have bad luck written through it, quite like Blackpool Rock is. So it doesn't really deserve any more, thanks. So let's hope that it's going to be a strong season for the remainder of for Henry Laws. Plus there's Sky Siddle, who's come to us from the Birrelart UK Series last year. She was a race winner in the junior category, has stepped up at the age of 16 to Senior X30, and has been taking to it pretty quickly, actually. She's enjoying herself, she's loving the battles, and here at Shenington, she's got good history with this place, so you never know. This could be an opportunity worth waiting for in her 2018 campaign. More on those drivers in the top 4 while we're waiting for the 2 minutes before the gate goes up for it to tick down. Joe Turney has had an absolutely mesmerising season in Great Britain thus far. He's leading this championship. When we get back to racing in Junior Rotax in a couple of weeks' time, he is also in the top 3 in that championship as well. Oh, and did I mention he's also battling for the European Senior X30 title as well. So this kid, it looks like, can do no wrong in the 2018 season, but he does have an awful lot of tough competition in that process, and there's a lot of drivers who can take massive points off him this weekend. Morgan Porter is at his absolute peak of driving at the moment. He's never looked stronger, he's never looked more composed. He seems to have it absolutely nailed in terms of 1 lap pace as well. So if he gets a good start from a decent position, then I don't think many drivers will know which way Morgan Porter went. He just seems to have that sort of rhythm and an amazing turn of speed. However, you've got to remember that Oliver Hodgson could well have been leading this championship had it not been for a few technical setbacks which arose at Lark Hall. He was very strong at the start of the season. You've got to remember back to Wilton, to PF International. He had good rhythm, good pace, and was leading the championship at that point. So Oliver Hodgson has definitely got some ground to make up, and he will be absolutely resolute and unshakable if he's got a good setup underneath him, which is quite likely. Then there's Thomas Turner, of course. Now, he's in a little bit of no man's land in terms of the championship standings. He's a little way adrift of the top 3, but has a decent cushion over the battle from 5th down to 10th. So he needs to basically use that O-plate victory to keep that confidence sky high. If he can start chipping away at the points advantage of the top 3, then his season could completely transform, and he's going to be one of those drivers who'll make good advantages up. The gate goes up, the green flag flies, nobody's in a hurry to leave the pit gate. This is another mini X30 debacle, isn't it? Now they go. Well, the first one out there on the circuit is the 96. That is Gregorio Perez, who is the newest addition to the Jade Racing team. The Mexican is going out there, and he's not bothered about tyre life at all. He wants as much experience of this circuit as is possible. But then he is a newcomer to Great Britain. The Mexican is obviously trying to get out as much time in the car as possible. Everyone else is waiting because, of course, it's very hot out there today, and these guys do not want to use up their tyres too early in the session, because obviously with it being a 6-minute session, that doesn't sound like much, but they've got to get themselves into a good position as early as possible. There goes the 37 out of the blocks. That is Sam Stansbury, the privateer, and that's opened the floodgates because Derek Morgan's now just left the pits. So it's just the three of them at the moment, because even though Derek Morgan's left the pits, nobody else is taking the bait at the moment. So the rest of the field is allowing just the three of these guys to go around. So no major surprises. Gregorio Perez is currently the fastest on track, based on the fact that he's the first one out on track. But his lap times will still give the drivers a bit of an indication as to what is going on with the circuit at the moment. There is still a little bit of cloud cover, but there's high pressure, I think, as everybody can feel around the circuit. It's hot, but it's muggy, and the rain last night has definitely not eased the pressure around the circuit. So Sam Stansbury is about to complete his flying lap. Gregorio Perez's first flying lap is a 44.98. Butcher's gone out onto the circuit, and that's the catalyst. Everybody's now flooding out of the pits as they open up the gates, and the drivers just fly out. So all it takes is a big name, and they all start flying out. Well, I say all of them. Morgan Porter hasn't left the pits just yet. He is still there waiting for his optimum moment. But several drivers have seen Sean Butcher go out and gone, right, time to get on with this. A few other drivers think, well, there's still a bit more time left, actually. And now, leaving the pits, come the rest of the field. And they're all going to come out at exactly the wrong moment for the 37. Goodness me. That was a very scary moment indeed there for Sam Stansbury. That could have been absolutely catastrophic, and it would not surprise me at all if there was a little bit of a warning given for that one. But poor Sam Stansbury just came out onto the circuit with a flood of senior X30s all over the circuit. Well, I'll tell you what, that was heart in the mouth time, and how there was not an accident, I do not know. But that was the closest of close calls. Well done to Sam Stansbury for stopping the car on the power in exactly the right moment, but that will definitely have upset his rhythm, and unfortunately that sort of problem is tough for a privateer to come back from. Hopefully his composure will not have been shaken too much. So we're into the ebb and flow of the qualifying session now. 2 minutes and 40 seconds left on the time. So there's still quite a long way to go from that point of view, but obviously we've still got a lot to talk about in this session as the 2 minutes and 26 seconds tick down, because the drivers at the sharp end have still not really been able to get their flying laps in yet. Sam Stansbury is still the fastest man out there on a 43.08. Morgan Porter pops up in second place. Joe Turney has now gone to second on a 43.10. So Sam Stansbury on his third flying lap is still the fastest man out on track, although the rest of the field is now slowly starting to catch him. And now we've got changes at the top. Mo Ibrahim has gone to fastest time, just 0.05 of a second quicker than Sean Butcher, the Australian. So Butcher is the second fastest in the mix. So it's Ibrahim leading, then it's Butcher, Stansbury, Turney. Adam Morris is in fifth place. Good run from her. Morgan Porter in sixth from Ewan Wilson, Tom Turner, Rory Hudson and Oliver Hodgson in the top 10. But there's still a minute and a half to go, and the drivers at the sharp end of the field are just getting into their stride. Here we go. Porter goes top. Turney goes top now. Rundqvist has come up into fourth position. Patrick Rundqvist in there behind Thomas Turner. Then Malin is fifth. Hodgson in sixth from Rory Hudson. Matt Armstrong, Sam Stansbury and Mo Ibrahim. Saul Robinson's in 11th now from Sean Butcher. Then Rashid Ghanem, the Lebanese. Ewan Wilson, Adam Morris, Derek Morgan, Levi King and Henry Laws. Scott Jackson is 19th from Brad Pennell. Then it's Jake Douglas, Alexander Luck, Jensen Brown, Sky Siddle, Kieran Long, Gregorio Perez and Archie Tillett. So the lap times are starting to come in. Oh, bit of a problem there for Alex Luck by the look of it, the 91. He's looking back. I think he's trying to drop back and go and join a slipstream with somebody. The next person in line is going to be Kieran Long. Meanwhile, Morgan Porter is towing in behind Sam Stansbury, and that's why he's currently second in the standings at the moment. But Joe Turney, the championship leader, is currently looking for pole position from Porter, Malin, Hodgson, Hudson, Turner and Rundqvist. Levi King, Jensen Brown and Sean Butcher are currently in the top 10 from Mo Ibrahim. Then it is Sam Stansbury, who is still the leading privateer, from Henry Laws, Matt Armstrong and Rashid Ghanem. And to be brutally honest with you, I think Sam Stansbury deserves a medal just for dodging out of the traffic on the way out of the pits, that scary moment about 4 turns ago. Joe Turney still on the top spot. Hodgson goes second. Oliver Hodgson goes up to second place in the timing screens there. Just 0.09 behind Joe Turney. And a slightly faster first sector than Morgan Porter puts him in position. The checkered flag comes out as Sean Butcher goes fifth. Sean Butcher goes fourth fastest. My apologies. Butcher goes on to the second row with his final flying lap. And the drivers are now finishing up, but is there going to be a couple of final changes? I sense there might be as they come across the line for the final time. Are there going to be a few more dramatic moves in the top three? Morgan Porter remains third. Turney remains on pole. Can Hodgson displace him with his final flying lap? He'll find out now. No, not quite enough. So it's pole position then for Joe Turney after a very strong qualifying session. Oliver Hodgson second from Morgan Porter and Rory Hudson. Sean Butcher is fifth from Lewis Malin in the end. Patrick Rundqvist and Thomas Turner from Ewan Wilson and Saul Robinson in the top 10. Then it is Levi King, Jensen Brown, Matt Armstrong, Brad Pennell, Mo Ibrahim, Sam Stansbury, Henry Laws, Rashid Ghanem, Scott Jackson and Anna Morris in the top 20. From Jake Douglas, Derek Morgan, Alex Luck, Sky Siddle, Gregorio Perez, Kieran Long, and after a difficult session that clearly was plagued with mechanical difficulties, Archie Tillett will round out the field. So, dramatic stuff, very exciting all the way through. That concludes the morning session and certainly concludes our run of qualifying. The next time we'll be back on the mic, it'll be race time. So we're going to go live again at 13:55, which is 5 minutes before the start of the first race of the day, which is going to be for Honda Cadet. I'm Jake Sanson from the commentary box here at Shenington Kart Racing Club. Great start to the day, but it's only just got going.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingham and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jake Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.